NBA draft scouting, almost like gambling. Sometimes you hit the jackpot, secure an all-time great, don't have to worry about the draft for 2 decades, keep winning championships. The San Antonio Spurs, perfect example of recognizing greatness, executing their master plans months in advance, seek out future Hall of Famers, nothing mysterious about their success. Can't say the same for most teams. Way too many incompetent franchises constantly getting laughed at for their embarrassment, picking bus after bus after bus, overcomplicated things when the superstar they miss out on right in front of their eyes. Every year, teams fall in love with mysterious prospects, players with insane potential, but little actual proof they can hoop at an NBA level. GMs getting tricked by certain qualities like height, wingspan, intangibles, and rawness instead of established pure hoopers. Here are the most hyped mystery lottery picks, and this how most of them actually turned out. Kristaps Porzingis of the New York Knicks, the mystery man of the 2015 draft, the 7'1" unicorn from Latvia, insanely unique with size, skill, and quickness, didn't play college ball, barely seen against top competition, a complete unknown compared to Karl Anthony Towns.
Porzingis, the mystery man in the 2015 NBA draft, a native of Latvia, 7'1", and he hasn't turned 20 years old yet.
I think if he were playing at Kentucky, Duke, or whatever, we'd be talking about him in the same sentences that we're talking about Karl Anthony Towns and Jahlil Okafor.
If the Lakers wanted to gamble at number 2, Porzingis was the move. A 19-year-old sharpshooter, crazy upside. The question, many concerns about his lack of strength, physicality, and history of European busts. Had conditioning issues at 13-14 years old, early red flags. Could he rebound at a high level? Can he pass? Or would he get bullied in the NBA? The comparisons to Dirk Nowitzki intriguing, but Knicks fans weren't having it, booing him on draft night, classic thumbs down, and Michael Rappaport famously called him Tingus Pingus.
Who the fuck is this? Who the fuck is Tingus Pingus? I never heard of fucking Latvia. You drafted this fucking kid!
But the rookie silenced everyone. Averaged 14-7, second for Rookie of the Year. By 2018, played like an MVP candidate, on his way to becoming top 10 player status until disaster struck. A torn ACL ended his season and ultimately his time with the Knicks. Traded to Dallas, showed flashes as a 20-point scorer, but never fit properly next to Luka. Rick Carlisle didn't utilize him. Injuries piled up. KP at the lowest point of his career. Consider a salary dump in 2022 for Davis Bertans? Another stupid move by the Mavs organization. It looked as he was just gonna be another empty stats guy on a bad team, but in 2023 revived his value, posted a career best over 23 points for Washington. The franchise literally traded him, got nothing in return. The contending Boston Celtics saw the vision. Replacing Marcus Smart, Porzingis landed in the perfect role, not a first or second option, but capable of being the best player on any given night. Missed 25 regular season games, most of the playoffs, but when the finals came, he destroyed his former team in Game 1. From ACL rehab in his early 20s to finals hero at age 29, Porzingis could have been a multiple-time All-NBA player, but even now, he's still got some great years left. Mario Hezonja, the second mystery man of the draft, picked fifth by Orlando at 6'8", 220, had all the right tools, freakish athleticism, and a jumper to become a huge star, giving nicknames like the Croatian Jordan and Super Mario or the Croatian Superman. Ended up Mr. NBA No Man's Land, had massive highlights but attitude issues, overly cocky with his abilities. His talent absolutely undeniable, but will he be humble enough if his career doesn't start out right? Could he be the white version of J.R. Smith? Many European prospects didn't have his high-flying abilities. From playing pro ball at age 13, hooped in Barcelona as a reserve, a high-risk, high-reward type of athlete that'll look amazing in workouts, but when the real games come, none of his tools translated. Being a victim of Orlando's dysfunction, franchise took him instead of Miles Turner, a rebuilding team without structure, multiple coaching changes, no stability. Coach Scott Skiles, not fond of his rookies, bench Mario for silly mistakes, later had Frank Vogel next 2 seasons. Hezonja's confidence diminished, had weak handles, which held his abilities to attack the rim and create off the dribble, hindering all his athleticism, shown flashes of good playmaking, but not enough to have the ball in his hands full time. His game better suited as a superstar in an inferior league outside the NBA. Didn't have any role player qualities. If Mario solely focused on improving attacking closeouts, catch and shoot threes, and defense on a more structured, functional franchise, perhaps he'd still be in the league. But the brashy attitude mixed in the wrong team. Being drafted by Sacramento, Detroit, and Charlotte would have produced similar results. If Hezonja was picked by Denver at 7 or Miami at 10, playing alongside young Jokic or Pat Riley's system, his career would have turned out much differently. Spent his last 2 NBA seasons with the tanking Knicks, then Blazers, then took his talents to Real Madrid, absolutely dominating overseas. If he matures enough and learns to utilize his role player intangibles, there's still a slight chance he gets another shot at the league. Now 30 years old, the time is ticking. Also 2015 class, Emmanuel Mudiay. Larry Brown called him the best teenage point guard prospect he's seen. From the Democratic Republic of the Congo, set to play for SMU, but due to eligibility concerns and having guaranteed $1 million money to support his family right away, listed 6'5" in high school, but in reality only 6'3", an elite passer, lethal transition pick and roll game. Many scouts furious at his decision going to China, needed to work on his perimeter shooting, defense, and limiting those turnovers. His lack of development, arguably the beginning of his NBA downfall. Had a bad ankle injury overseas with the Southern Tigers, played just a dozen games, missed 3 full months of on-court development. His gifts, despite lack of footage to evaluate his true skills, made him good enough. Selected 7th by the Denver Nuggets, immediately labeled the starting point guard, averaged 13 points, 5 assists, but his flaws didn't get fixed. Loose handles, dribbles too high, couldn't shoot. Him being in the lineup right away arguably hindered his growth, needed more time. Pretty gifted athletically, can fling passes with ease with good vision, but the liabilities too much to overcome. A young 19-year-old Mudiay wasn't ready to be handed the keys to the offense, posted one of the worst advanced numbers by any rookie all time, seemed slow and struggled finish at the rim. By his second season, franchise drafted point guard Jamal Murray, a much better scorer, shooter, and instantly became the better player than Mudiay. Jamal also played all 82 games as a rookie with no injury concerns. Combined with the rise of center Jokic, there was simply no use for Mudiay, who was traded to the struggling Knicks. Ended up being teammates with Hezonja for the 17-win 2019 team, posted empty stats of 15 points. Mudiay still a bad shooter, passes up open shots, hurt his team, never became a good defender, out the league by 25, now in Puerto Rico. Needs the ball, but not efficient enough to run any second unit, and not old enough to be a locker room vet. Stuck in between no man's land, his time in the NBA likely over for good. 2016 draft, Dragan Bender, the international mystery man at 7 foot, the Croatian not-so-sensation. Labeled a stretchy power forward, from being ranked as possibly the third best player in the draft behind Ben Simmons and Brandon Ingram, everybody else up for grabs, the youngest player in his class. Sadly, the victim of recency bias, had fake hype due to the success of Knicks rookie Kristaps Porzingis, looking like a true unicorn and future superstar, just like how everybody wanted to find the next Dirk Nowitzki. Fresh off a finals appearance 2006, the Raptors quickly drafted Andrea Bargnani first overall. Bender, a work in progress, had the size and frame. If it wasn't for KP, Dragan might not have even been a lottery pick. Having one of the coolest names ever, everyone became so in love with Porzingis. Bender's intangibles, the closest thing to being the next Kristaps. His name mostly drawn on pure hype, forced to deal with massive expectations. Clearly evident, he was nowhere near Porzingis. Nothing but a standstill 3-point shooter, no foot speed, all for nothing else on a rebuilding Sun squad from multiple head coaches. No structure, scared to look at the basket, remember for being one of the softest 7-footers. It's an absolute travesty. Bleacher Report back in 2015 wrote about the then 17-year-old, predicting him the 19th best star in 2020 for a shooter who couldn't shoot, out the league before the pandemic. How's that for data? 7 games with the Bucks, followed by 9 with Golden State, averaged half a block for a 7-footer, less than 4 rebounds, shot under 40% for his career, simply unacceptable. Easily the worst European bust over the last decade. Not as hyped up, but the 13th pick mystery man from Greece, Giorgio Papagiannis, lasted 39 total games, played 2 seasons, picked up by Sacramento, was projected a second rounder, but Vlade Divac couldn't contain himself, now hooping overseas, one of the biggest wasted lottery picks we'll ever see. 2016, Thon Maker. When a prospect has age concerns, absolute red flags. From being listed 19 years old, 2016 draft from Sudan, Africa, NBA reporter Jake Fisher mentioned several teams entirely ruled Thon out the first round due to his age, believing he's between 21 to 23 and not 19. One Reddit user said he lived in the same city in Australia where Maker migrated to, pictured in a 2010 high school graduation photo, proving he wouldn't have been 19 years old and instead around 23 come the 2016 draft. 6 years before, nowhere near a draft prospect at the time, given he's 7 feet tall, very capable of cheating the system. Claiming to be much younger than he actually is could lead to massive life-changing money rewards given his hype coming into the draft, and seeing how badly his career turned out, seen as a freak of nature from 2012 to 2014 high school, Maker looked like the second coming of Kevin Durant with a little mix of Garnett. The Reddit post of his age absolutely led to massive concerns. Otherwise, if there was 100% proof he was fully 19, Maker probably would have been drafted 3rd overall. Didn't play college ball, even harder to scout. That didn't want to pick him even if available. Absolutely spot on. Lasted only 5 seasons in the NBA, supposed to have raw potential, even worked out with Giannis many times, continues to remain skinny, never improved one bit, has no hands, struggles putting on weight. A huge gamble given his lack of competition, the most suspect anyone can remember. Thankfully, Milwaukee had their franchise player in Giannis. The Bucks drafting him, just a gamble given the massive rewards if Maker panned out. Didn't know how to use his height. Poor basketball coordination, super stiff, went overseas, now in the G League. His most memorable highlight playing professional ball, attempting that flying knee during FIBA. A poor man's version of Maxime Kleber. 2017, Frank Ntilikina, booed instantly. Knicks fans were craving for Dennis Smith Jr. or Donovan Mitchell. Given their proven gifts in college, Mitchell being drafted top 8, considered a stretch. Due to playing 2 years at Louisville, the struggling franchise, in desperate need of a point guard, went with the 18-year-old from France, listed 6'5" with a 7-foot wingspan. His talents unproven, but the potentials and intangibles with the length too hard to pass up. Labeled the next great French point guard since Tony Parker. Very calm, laid-back attitude, super raw offensively, a terrible jump shot, but his defense way too fascinating from the get-go. Frank's offense a non-factor, but the defensive instincts had all NBA defensive team potential. Way too passive, turned down open shots, absolutely not starting material, never improved in New York, easily lost all his confidence, always referred to his teammates, was so bad, many gave him the nickname Frankie Smokes. Later played in Dallas, then Charlotte. Just not NBA material, nothing more than being a third string point guard. 2018 Michael Porter Jr. out of Nathan Hale, a high school prodigy, quickly drew Kevin Durant comparisons. Great size at 6'10", huge scoring arsenal. The high school number 2 player committed to Mizzou, limited to 3 games in college, needed serious back surgery. From guaranteed top 5 pick to uncertainty, it wasn't even promised Porter Jr. would have had an NBA career, depending how damaged his back was. From not being able to get out of bed, doctors evaluating him closely, Clippers doctors even wrote a report that he probably won't play again. Passed up 13 times, it was up-and-coming Denver Nuggets taking a chance on the injury-prone kid. Franchise made the postseason as a 2nd seed when he sat out entire rookie season. Even disrespectfully snubbed from the Rising Stars game, Zion 10 career games Williamson got in. Had Porter been drafted to a rebuilding squad and depended upon to save a franchise like Sacramento or New York, his injuries and rushed to come back, career probably would have been over. But thankfully for the Nuggets, Jokic becoming the franchise player, Murray a proven second option, MPJ all the time in the world to recover, broke out playing meaningful minutes 2020 playoffs, made progress, averaged 19 points his second full season, earned him a $172 million rookie extension. His 2022 season cut short after 9 games, another back surgery. More than likely would have been a multiple-time All-Star by now if it wasn't for his bad back. Became a solid offensive role player, a 17 to 19 point scorer, improved tremendously on his D, provides great spacing, 41% outside shooter, vital piece to the 2023 title squad. Just like Porzingis, MPJ made the best of his situation, blessed to be surrounded by a great team, allowed to play their roles as third and fourth options. When both capable of being the team's leading scorer some nights, things couldn't have worked out any better for these champions. Darius Garland could have gone anywhere from 4th to even outside the lottery. Many speculated he'd be a bust, limited to 5 games in college, undersized at 6 foot. The 16th ranked high school prospect being picked 5th, absolutely head scratcher. Balled out in the Nike Hoop Summit, had sharp handles, a good jumper, but the lack of footage for Vanderbilt, a huge risk. His style came down to the eye test, able to create his own shot, highly efficient, drew comparisons to Dame Lillard. Cleveland selected him anyway. DG the PG showed upside, became an all-star by his 3rd season, averaged 22 and 8 assists, one of the best pure floor generals, always knowing when to attack, shoot or pass, now the engine, running the best offense in the NBA, having the best record with 2/3 of the season complete. Cleveland picking Garland, a blessing in disguise. Cam Reddish, the cause of his own demise. Number 3 high school prospect, had Paul George-like abilities, being 6'8" with a smooth handle, can create his own jumper. The first to commit to Duke out of Zion and RJ, but once those 2 guys ranked above him also took their talents to Coach K, Reddish's confidence diminished overnight. Having all the talent in the world but doesn't show it on the floor, easily took a back seat, setting his growth backwards. Struggled shooting in college, didn't have any role player intangibles, no killer instincts, hampered by injuries, missing at least 24 games each of his 6 possible seasons. From not being reliable, unavailable half the time, Atlanta had enough of him, so did the Knicks, became a Portland tank commander. Lakers desperately picked him up, only to get better on defense. Cam believing he should be a star and not focus on doing role player things earlier in his career. Supposed to be on his 5th team in 4 seasons before Mark Williams failed his physical. Stuck in his own head, falling deeper in JJ Redick's rotation, will likely be overseas or G League after 2025, an absolute bust to say the least. The entire 2020 draft class, the biggest unknown of all drafts, the pandemic year, no real combine, a disaster of assessments, and not the best draft class either. Everyone knew top 3 between Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, and James Wiseman. Ant-Man the safest bet. Even Melo played briefly overseas. A huge mystery, but lots of high school footage as a 15-year-old stud. The biggest mystery of those 3, the horrendous James Wiseman. 3 games played in Memphis before leaving the program. 20 long months, 3 times playing real basketball, absolutely stunning his development. Being in the worst possible situation in an established system, not built for underdeveloped rookies. His draft stock, strictly based on hype, known for the physical tools at 7 feet, still didn't know how to play ball at a high level compared to Chris Bosh, doesn't know how to set screens, also super injury prone. Entire second season cut short with a torn meniscus. Another wasted year of development, has low feet on D, team had enough of him after 60 total games played. Wiseman continued to be terrible for the crappy Pistons, played 1 game with Indiana before tearing his ACL, traded to Toronto and quickly waived. Now 23 years old, Wiseman might have sadly played his final NBA game, even less contest than the atrocious Anthony Bennett. Patrick Williams of the Bulls wasn't even viewed a lottery pick, but Chicago took him 4th for a one and done that averaged less than 10 points a game in college, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. Williams started 0 games on his own Florida State team. but being 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan looked like the prototypical two-way player. His lack of playing time in college created many what-if scenarios for such a terrible franchise. Given NBA superstar Kawhi Leonard at the peak of his powers, many were just looking for the next Kawhi. For the terrible Bulls to gamble on such an unknown, many knew Williams wasn't going to work out. His college teammate Devin Vassell or the more established Tyrese Halliburton way safer bets. Flash forward 4.5 years later, Williams still a player in progress, filled with potential, but simply just another boring average starter, plays with no urgency, struggles dunking the ball. The Bulls stupidly gave him 5 years $90 million, a super passive personality, just a straight up terrible pick. Still the type of player a few years away from being a few years away. The crappy franchise he stuck with, nothing to show for. From once deemed untouchable with the Bulls, having the absolute luxury, getting an undeserving near 9-figure contract extension while still having no identity. Welcome to 21st century Chicago Bulls stupidity, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable mention goes to the atrocious Killian Hayes. Some even had him going number 1 overall when he's been an absolute travesty of a player, one of the worst the NBA seen, waived by Detroit after 3.5 seasons, picked up by Brooklyn. An absolute embarrassment of a lottery pick for the ages. At the end of the day, gambling on mysterious prospects can work out handy when you get a Giannis or Jokic, but most of the time, a lottery overhyped guy like Dragan Bender, thanks to the hype of Kristaps Porzingis, the mysterious age of Thon Maker, Mr. 7-foot faker, and the underdeveloped Emmanuel Mudiay. Super risky bets. Many future bad players will be picked by bad organizations time and time again. Thankfully, Porzingis, Michael Porter, and Darius Garland worked out terrifically. The coming 2025 draft, absolutely compelling to say the least, on which international prospect goes higher than originally planned.